And there are none other than Andrew Bolt and Chris Kenny. Let's go to Andrew Bolt first in Melbourne. Andrew, $900 billion debt, basically. Double down on the credit card, do everything you did last year and expect to be swept back to office. What do you think?
Well, they probably will be swept back to office. You're absolutely right. I thought it was interesting when you looked at that Essential Poll stuff that, you know, what people were wanting action on. The government obviously reads opinion polls and gave it to them in spades. And with debt reduction coming a distant last on your list. But the problem is that debt is debt. I mean, when you spend that much money, you're going to get a lot of good things. Absolutely. But in the end, someone is going to have to pay for it. And they'll pay even more for it if the interest rates, do eventually rise, if inflation goes up and all that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of bets here. There's not a word said in Josh Frydenberg's budget speech about surplus. 2 years ago, he was promising surpluses forever and ever. You know, finally we had the budget back in the black. It really mattered then. Now it doesn't matter at all. There's not even a word when it's going to be paid back. And there are also some big, obviously some other issues that I worry about. The fact that there's a big sugar hit of immigration just down the track to help pay for this. You know, lots of immigrants coming in, 235,000 just 3 years from now. How's that going to happen with coronavirus around? And I just wonder about the effect that's going to have in depressing the wages that he wants to go up. So I don't know. This is a budget that I think, as you say, politically works. It will help to get the government re-elected. And then we'll wake up the next day and think, how are we going to pay for it? What about this mass immigration suddenly that they're, you know, threatening or promising, however way you look at it? And then there's the China issue that we should come back to too, how one day we're told we may be at war with China soon, and yet we've got a budget that assumes that China will still keep buying all our stuff.
Yeah, really good point. I mean, also one of the things that's going to take us from, $150 billion deficit this year to maybe 50 in a couple of years' time is a massive surge in company taxes and a massive surge in income taxes in the next couple of years. In part, that is based off an assumption that more people are in the country to have a job, exactly what Andrew's saying. Chris Kenny, your bite at this budget.
Yeah, I have similar thoughts, Paul and Andrew. Look, I think the last financial year, the last budget was all about JobKeeper to get Australians through the pandemic. This budget is all about a different kind of JobKeeper to get the coalition through the next election. Now, I don't want to be too churlish. They've done a good job, right? They've done a good job getting us through the pandemic. But there's really been two things that have done that. One is, of course, the JobKeeper payments, the economic measures to help us get through the lockdowns to deal with the virus. But the other big factor was sealing off our international borders, having hotel quarantine and keeping us essentially COVID-free. So the thing is, they end up spending less money than they'd budgeted on. And people like me early on, a lot of us were saying, well, that's the test. If Josh Frydenberg can not spend as much on JobKeeper, that's better for the country. But here in an election year, effectively, instead of banking that money, having less debt, they're saying we're still in a crisis, we'll spend it anyway. Now, some of it's being spent on great stuff like extra home care places for aged care, but it is picking off all their political weaknesses, cutting off the ground of all Labor's attacks, and it's very much targeted at winning an election. Never waste a crisis, they say in politics, and certainly Scott Morrison and Josh Frydenberg are not wasting this one.